how he just flies through a fireball there. That's not only is there fragmentation and shrapnel in there that can damage the aircraft's surfaces. If you lose that engine, you don't want to be ejecting, especially over something that you've just bombed or shot. In this gameplay, like, he's shooting way more missiles than we could ever carry in the aircraft. The F-35B and C actually don't even have an internal gun. You will receive kind of, as you say, like missile alerts or stuff. It's going to be displayed a little differently in the aircraft if the aircraft's able to identify it. A-10 is more of an attack style aircraft. Again, this airspeed is like absolutely ridiculous. It will carry external stores on the weapon or on its wings. A-10 is not designed to be low observable. It's designed solely for an air surface attack role or in close air support. You will get condensation building up if you're flying through rain. Clouds are literally just water vapor. If you're just flying through clouds, you shouldn't be getting that kind of buildup of water. But yeah, if you're flying through rain, you will get kind of buildup on the canopy. So you can fly through the clouds. It's not going to do anything to defeat a radar signature, but it can mask your IR signature. If you're potentially getting targeted from an infrared air missile or an air surface missile, again, now that infrared seeker head has to look through the water vapor in the clouds, so it's going to mask you a little bit. Especially if you're at low altitude like this in a mountainous region, not going to normally be flying through clouds like this. You now risk the potential to run into a mountain and literally crash the airplane. Some of the newer aircraft like the F-35 and actually the F-16 has as well. We have an auto GCAS or auto ground collision avoidance system. What that will do is it'll actually, if it senses an impending impact with the ground, it'll actually, the computer software will automatically recover the aircraft and fly the aircraft away from the ground. I mean, he's getting really aggressive down low here, which might be what you need to do in a combat situation. However, kind of getting shot at with the cloud layer, with the various like pull-up cues, or now he's got a warning, or master warning in his HUD. And these are all like factors that are gonna make like just elevate this risk so high, especially like as he's flying through the weather here. You don't know what's on the other side of the cloud you just flew through. It could be rising terrain or another mountain that you're just gonna now fly into. Okay, so they're flying the F-35 in a non-low observable or stealth configuration. You can see it by kind of the external weapons on the wings. And then if you're looking at the right side of the display here, you can see kind of its SMS or stores management system where you can see kind of the displays. And it looks like a B or C model. It's doing a drogue tanking where it has a basket coming out of the back of the tanker. And this was a lot easier than it kind of appears in real life. So he's refilling off a KC-10, which is an Air Force tanker. And it's usually not that simple. You're not gonna have all these aircraft in this close formation kind of as you're doing that as well. So watching this, you can see he's going ridiculously fast. The aircraft is not flying anywhere. I think we're showing up to 2,000 knots. He's also flying at a really, really low altitude. Sweet, so you can see shooting the missiles and firing the gun, those usually are gonna occur at different points. If he's getting shot out like this, it's gonna look to be up at altitude. You're gonna minimize or just completely avoid by getting outside of their capabilities. You're also not gonna be looking to press in this close to targets. There's various considerations such as like fragmentation. So if you drop a bomb, when the bomb explodes, there's now shrapnel or fragmentation that's going to be bursted up at altitude. So you're going to look to have a standoff, and that's going to be actually weaponeered prior to the flight for what weapons you're carrying. So you'll have a minimum altitude that you're not going to descend below. So you essentially don't shoot yourself down unintentionally. Like how we just fly through a fireball there. That's not only is there fragmentation and shrapnel in there that can damage the aircraft's surfaces, but jet engines, especially compressor blades, don't like anything that's not air flowing through there. It's gonna start to hit the compressor blades, and you can essentially, especially in a single engine aircraft, if you lose that engine, you don't want to be ejecting, especially over something that you've just bombed or shot. You can also see on the bottom right of the screen kind of his missile loadout or his overall weapons that he has on board the aircraft, and like especially an F-35 with the internal weapons bay, pretty limited, or at least compared to a traditional fighter in terms of what we'll be able to carry in terms of inventory. He has external weapons on the aircraft, which is going to increase his RCS or radar cross section, so it's going to make you more apparent on radar, easier to pick up. So if you're in an actual combat scenario, you're not going to have external stores on the aircraft or external weapons hanging off the wings. Instead, you'll go into the situation with just weapons in your internal weapon bays to be more survivable. It looks like you're shooting like an AIM-120 or AIM-7. First of all, we don't carry the AIM-7 in our aircraft, and then AIM-120 is going to solely be used in an air-to-air role to shoot down other aircraft. It's not going to be used in a kind of air-surface engagement. In this gameplay, like, he's shooting way more missiles than we could ever carry in the aircraft. The F-35B and C actually don't even have an internal gun. The A model does have an internal gun, but the amount of bullets we carry, you're going to be out of bullets in 4 to 5 seconds of trigger squeeze. So one thing you can see is on the bottom left, it looks like kind of like a mini map or a moving map. We do have a moving map in the aircraft, and we have 2 data links or information sharing. If everything is working, everybody's in the data link, you will see friendlies pop up on your moving map, and they are able to pass some kind of target information along on the map. So we talked about here, especially like if the aircraft are very fragile, especially some of these low observable aircraft like F-35 or F-22, where you don't receive damage warnings, especially if you've been hit. You don't know essentially what's been hit in the aircraft. And in a single engine fighter, there's potential now that you're gonna have some kind of engine trouble where you don't have the ability like you would in a F-15 to shut down a motor and return home on that single engine. You will receive kind of, as you say, like missile alerts or stuff. You will actually receive that on the aircraft. If the aircraft picks up a missile launch or a missile in the air, it's going to be displayed a little differently in the aircraft, but you will potentially get a warning if the aircraft is able to identify it. So you can see he's going through just a various list of aircraft here from the F-104, so really old aircraft, through like some more modern stuff from the F-14, which has been retired from at least the U.S. Navy service. It's still in service with Iran. And kind of how you see on the right side of the screen, all aircraft are going to have various pros and cons. So for an A-10, you can see it's, at least in this scenario, looks to be better air-to-ground than air-to-air, which is going to be accurate. Again, it's designed for an air-surface or air-to-ground employment scenario, close air support. For an F-16 or an F-2, which is the Japanese version of the F-16, it's going to be a more of a multi-role fighter now, so you'll see be a little bit more balanced than what a F-104 would be. I think now we're looking at the F-15. So it's F-15C, a solely air-to-air fighter, so it has a 0 air-ground capability. So it's kind of reflected in its specifications here, where air-to-air is bumped up higher than air-to-ground, and that's going to be for the F-15 specifically. Now this looks like the F-15E Strike Eagle. So what you can tell from F-15C is now it's 2 seats. So you'll have a weapon system operator or WISO in the back seat who's going to run various systems on the aircraft, whether that's its targeting pod, radar, etc. Those are able to be controlled from the pilot, but now you have a dedicated person in the back. And then F-35C Lightning II, this is the aircraft that I currently fly. We have 3 different variants of the aircraft: the A model, B model, and C model. That's going to be the carrier version, mainly flown by the United States Navy. C model is going to have the beefed up landing gear to be able to take off and land from an aircraft carrier. It's going to have the probe for its aerial refueling that we saw earlier. And then this is the Rafale, going to be used by France. They'll have a carrier version flown off the Charles de Gaulle. If you just want to make a quick comparison, would be like the French equivalent to like F-18. The Typhoon or Eurofighter is going to be exported throughout Europe. Again, a multi-role fighter. You can see again, it's not low observable. It's got actually really powerful engines, so aircraft's going to have really good speed, which is going to allow it to perform better in BFM or 1v1 dogfighting.